Hello and welcome to Product and Artist Management for the Full Sail University Entertainment Business Master of Science program. This is the 7th month of the program, so congratulations on making it more than halfway, and we welcome you. This is the first week of your content that goes along with your reading and the assignments that you have for this week. My name is Jill Craddock. I'm the Associate Course Director, and Kate Hartig is the Course Director for the class. So a little bit about Kate. Kate comes from, she says she feels a little bit like Forrest Gump sometimes. She comes from 7 different states. She most closely identifies a home state as Louisiana, and she loves New Orleans. And she got her start working in entertainment. She's passionate about music, and she worked at Tower Records, which led into promotional work and advertising. She worked at one of the largest advertising agencies in the United States, which was Young and Rubicam, and that led her to work with Disney and ESPN here in Central Florida, and she worked pretty high level in marketing, and she grew from the early days of email. She grew their databases to close to 10 million before she decided she was going to get an MBA and get into teaching. So she attended UCF, and here we are lucky to have her at Full Sail. And so you can see a picture of her family. Her kids are a little bit bigger now, and some of the things that she's involved with. And if you are ever here on campus, then you might want to bring her some M&Ms. Plain M&Ms are her favorite candy, so she has that on here. And my name is Jill Craddock. And just some things about me, some of the things that brought me to Full Sail, my work in the entertainment industry. I'm a playwright. I've written some plays and musical theater. I have a production company. Required Rhyming is rhymed readers theater. It's adaptations of classic stories that you would have had to read in high school, like Edgar Allan Poe or Rip Van Winkle, and that's the product that I manage. I kind of monetize that so that kids can read either it's young adult theater or they can use it as a classroom learning tool. And it helps. It's kind of a guided reading tool that I sell online. And I've also produced several plays for the Orlando International Fringe Theater Festival here in town. And then over summers, I work with preteen and teenagers to help produce the kids component of the Florida Film Festival. So that's a lot of fun for me. It's a great love of mine, a passion. And I attended Georgia State University and the University of North Florida. I have a big background in project management, and I have this multicolored eyeball on here. That's my approach to education, is kind of a multiple intelligences and a variety of ways to look at any concept. So I have this slide on here. It says, and you are. Some of you, we were lucky and got to speak to you live during the class session on Tuesdays. But if we did not get to speak to you and learn about you personally, for your undergraduate, your area of interest, and your goals, not just for the program, but for this class in particular, we'd really like to hear from you. So please drop an email, drop a short bio in the Community Buzz board on the discussion board, and let us know. We like to tailor the class specifically as best we can. If we have a big group of people who are interested in film or games or music, as much as we can, we like to customize the class to your interest using current event examples. So do let us know who you are and kind of where you're going with the program and your goals. So we keep the objectives pretty tightly aligned with the reading. So these are some of the things that I'm going to be covering with you just now. So we're going to talk about the roles of the artist manager and the relationship with the artist manager and the artist. How do you launch that artist career? How do you find the right connection with artist manager and artist? And how do you assess that, the business side of the artist career in addition to the creative assets, and who else is involved in that? So these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight, and that as you go through your reading will complement some of these objectives. So make sure that you also do the reading. So what do you have to do? Who do you have to be? What kind of person to become an artist manager? The roles and qualifications. So on the right-hand side here, you'll see, the idea with this tightrope walker. The image here the reason I put it on here is the idea of balance. Okay, you have to be a person who can balance a lot of problems before they are problems, before they become a problem for the artist. If you are the artist manager, you have to solve the problems before they're problems. And the idea behind being a troubleshooter here is that you have to be kind of an aggressive personality without being pushy or without being overly aggressive, because you have to solve those problems and anticipate and work with people to in a strategy almost to advance your artists and to keep them at their personal best so that they can focus and concentrate on their craft. And that's a balancing act. So if you've ever worked with an artist, you may have noticed, as I have when the artists that I've worked with, is that it's a different thing than working with, than managing something in like a Fortune 500 company or in any other company that you might work for. Artists are very personally connected to their work, so you're working, you're really balancing that interpersonal connection with the management side of what you do. So a big role that you have is to be a coach and to become very, you're going to be very close with your artist. So that's a big difference when it comes to artist management. So specifically, what does that mean? What does the artist manager do? Sometimes you have to do it all. The difference here, if you look at these are all management activities with the exception of a couple. A lot of managers in any industry do not necessarily have to travel with the person or product or service that they're managing. Okay, so that sometimes the artist manager will travel, sometimes not. Oopsie, sorry. Sometimes not. But on here also, it says be a friend. So that's kind of a strange thing, the concept of being a friend to the artist. That's unusual. So the idea here is that you are the closest relationship behind a spouse, really, to your artist, because you spend that much time with the artist. So you cannot be, though, a yes man or a yes woman. So that's something that's different from the typical management. A quote from Carrie Hilson that I really liked when she was talking about entertainment and working with an artist manager. She said, "Sleep sold separately." So that's something that you should know going in, because that is in fact true. It's when you're a coach and when you're working in the entertainment industry, it's most definitely not a 9 to 5. It's not a day job at all. You're kind of on almost all the time. So it is different than working with folks in another industry, and that persistence without pushiness and solving those problems, those interpersonal skills come into play more than really they would in another industry. So who's going to help you with all this? The support team. This is a wagon wheel theory of artist management, and by now perhaps you might have noticed, you might have watched the Mark Oswald video. He's a country music artist manager, and he has this theory of the artist manager being at the center of the wagon wheel, making sure that everything operates and runs smoothly. And I would extend that even further and suggest that as an artist manager, that in your office and in your workspace, I think this is such a great analogy that it's worth actually drawing out like on a whiteboard with dry erase markers, and that each one of these spokes you should actually label with the words, whatever you're involved with: agent, record company, publisher, sponsor, so on and so forth, as a visual reminder to yourself what you're doing and how you're working to move your artist forward in each of these areas. Because your stakeholders are what make up your artist, and it's your job to manage each of these, the human and the financial resources, as well as the artist's time. So whoever's working with your artist, whether it's the agent representing the talent and the business negotiations from attorneys, supervising the professional agreements, these are all of your roles. Consulting with employers in the entertainment fields. It could be coordinating the booking, the banking, establishing those lines of credit, all the different types of insurance that an artist would have to have, vehicle, liability, insurance on health insurance, life insurance, facilities, creating and staying within a budget. That's kind of a hard thing to do lots of times. Whatever needs to be done and whenever it needs to be done, and conferring with your artist on all those matters related to the career. So it would definitely be a fool's game for you as an artist manager to do all of those things for yourself and for your artist. So it's important to maintain the right support team and to maintain connections with all of these stakeholders so that those people who have expertise in these areas will best serve you and your artist. But you would be kind of the leader of this support team and make sure that the artist manager or that the artist is getting everything that they need. You would be in charge of that. Okay, so moving on to what does the artist manager do? It could also be less, and it's important to have these conversations right off the bat because if an act is like more developing, a newer act, they may not need you, or they may not be able to afford to have somebody doing everything under the sun for them. Okay, so maybe they just need you to do their books for them, just the business side, just helping with the bills, running some, Excel spreadsheets, QuickBooks, things like that. Maybe some tax work. Maybe they just need somebody to help promote them for social marketing. There's, so all the portals of social marketing, that could be a full-time job in and of itself. So right away when you connect with an artist, it's important to have the conversation immediately, specifically outline the parameters in writing of what you're going to do so that there's no confusion down the line, because there are so many things for an artist manager to do that working with your artist and defining those parameters becomes very important. No matter what, something very important for an artist manager to do is figuring out how to get through to those gatekeepers in the marketing side. And the advice that I would have for you is that all artist managers are trying to get through to gatekeepers to promote their artist. And the way that you would stand out in that is, instead of promoting your artist, in addition rather to promoting your artist, figure out what motivates that gatekeeper and how you can help that gatekeeper. So when you help other people, it will ultimately help you. So figuring out what that gatekeeper needs or what that gatekeeper will respond to, getting to know that person will serve you very well. Okay, so just something to think about in addition, to serving your artist. Kind of have a service attitude towards other people. Okay, so what are the qualifications of being an artist manager? So you gotta be a risk taker. A mover and shaker. Somebody who's going to be able to make your artist shine. Okay. Helen Keller has a beautiful quote. She says, "Security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature, nor do the children of men as a whole experience it. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing." So you have to be very brave to be an artist manager, because there's no guarantee that your artist will be successful. And that's just like anything else. If you were to open a small business, which your artist essentially is, but any small business, if you were to rent a storefront, if you were to put a shingle out, there's no guarantee. And many small businesses do fail, and many artists, have a lot of trouble with success. So your job is to be that leader and to be that coach. No matter what, you kind of have to have that optimism all the time. And no matter what, make your artist shine. So it's definitely sad to be, prepared with something and not have that opportunity. But you don't want to have, what's even worse, you don't want to have an opportunity and then not be prepared. So if you have that preparation, you have that business plan, all of the things that you're learning about here at the Entertainment Business Program, it helps you when you do have that opportunity and that past the gatekeeper. Once you get past, that will make all the difference. And the idea of follow through, you'd be very surprised at how many people fail to follow through. So let's say you meet somebody and someone that can possibly help you, and instead of putting that business card in your wallet or in your pocket or in your purse and forgetting about it, you actually call the next day or you follow up with an email the next day. So many people do not do that. So, make yourself stand out and make sure that you do follow through. That makes a huge difference. And it is shocking, believe it or not, how many people do not follow through. Okay, so having the persistence and determination, but still a realistic attitude and some flexibility really helps you a lot as an artist manager. So kind of the game warden idea. What's in season, what's out of season, that hunter attitude, some paths. How are you going to get to be an artist manager, okay? Well, one path is the entertainment business master's degree. Having that business degree, and especially a focus in entertainment, adds a lot of credibility and knowledge to your background. Other paths are, an attorney. You could be an attorney that's focused around entertainment. Accountants will sometimes, that have worked in entertainment, become an artist manager, or financial planners will sometimes, who have worked with artists, become managers. Even like road managers that have been touring on a show sometimes evolve into that role, or a producer with lots of exposure to the artist. Those are some of the paths to artist management. But no matter what, you have to be a hunter, and that's the purpose of this visual here, and figure out, if you've watched the Blue Williams video by now, it's like a day in the life of an artist manager, and he has this great quote. He says, "If I don't hunt, I don't eat." So it's kind of like, somebody in sales, they have to get that commission, so to speak. So that's what it is with artist management. You have to get those gigs, because it's usually about a 20% commission on that, okay? So launching an artist career. The top left I have here, this kind of indicates being honest, okay? The idea here is honesty right up front. And what I'm showing here is the idea of a 10,000 hour rule. And it's illustrated using the violin, but this 10,000 hour rule is proven across fields, whether it's golf or fiction writing or computer science. It doesn't matter if it's entertainment, if it's science or industry or the arts, right? Once you get to a certain level of talent, what makes the difference is how much work and practice you put into your craft, okay? So all the violinists here had started playing around age 5, okay? And they all played, let's say, 2 or 3 hours a week during the first few years. But around a few years later, let's say around age 8, there were some differences that began to show up. And the difference is that they were all quite good. But the difference is how many hours each of them practiced. So on the bottom left, we have violin teachers. The bottom right, we have a violin soloist who makes a living kind of buskering in the street and supports himself that way. And on the top right, we have the virtuosos. And, they're called on for, the solos and the yo-yo ma sort of thing. So the virtuosos and the ones who are the most well-known have practiced for 10,000 hours. The ones who were very good practiced for 4,000 hours. And the ones who were better than that were at about the 8,000 hour level. So the research basically suggests that once you have enough talent to get into the level of giftedness, let's say, what people view as giftedness, the difference is how much practice and effort you're putting in. Because there are lots of people who are at that level. The difference is the energy and talent that you put in. So the reason I have this here is because I want you to very honestly assess your artist. And even if they have that really good sound, that really good image, it's important to see, what are they doing with their day? Are they practicing their craft? Are they honing their image? What are they doing to make themselves better? And the answer should be that they are working very hard all the time. They should be getting in that 10,000 hours. The Beatles played 10,000 hours in Hamburg, Germany. They had 10,000 hours of live performance over a period of 3 or 4 years before they came to the United States, and we had Beatlemania. Okay, so nothing happens overnight, even though it seems like they just, would have arrived here. That was actually something that was crafted for quite a long time. So look carefully at that. And this is true of people that we think of that are even, prodigies, like a Mozart. If you go back and look at their research, they have had lots and lots of practice. So look at that with your artists. Okay, so how do you find a manager if you're an artist? Well, there's a book here. We're in Central Florida, and the one of the VPs of the Orlando Magic wrote a book. Pat Williams. He wrote a book called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. Okay, so the idea behind that maintaining a close network of friends in the industry, and being very visible, making a lot of contacts and mutual friends who have a respect for the same industry and the same work that you do. I can vouch for that personally. That's how I've been able to get anything and everything that I've ever done in entertainment, with or without a budget or with a dollar store budget. And that includes, finding an attorney and publicity and musical director and, you name it. It's because of the time that you put in, because you care about other people's projects. And it sometimes will, it'll take years of really honing those relationships because of the field that you love, not because you're trying to get something for your own self, but just really building that network is very important. Another way to find a manager is, besides having that big network, is we call it the hired gun approach. Okay, and you'd almost like audition for this person in the same way that you would for an artist manager. It does cost money, and you do have to sell yourself in the same way. And it would be like an attorney that could kind of guide you through the process of finding an artist manager. You can constantly, harass almost, that fine line between persistence and pushy. You can harass a manager until somebody will see you. Something very important, and you'll learn this while you're doing your research for your case study, it's very important to not sign anything right away. And no matter what kind of contract is out on the table, no matter how exciting it is or how exciting it looks, that you have an attorney look over it. And as an artist manager, as somebody with a business degree, that's not good enough. You actually do have to have an attorney. Even if you think you understand everything there is about it, it's best to have an attorney, because that investment will avoid a lot of problems in the future, and if there is something in the contract to be wary of. Okay. How do you find an artist? Well, you can get referrals from other people in the business of who's looking for an artist, referrals from agents or producers. You can kind of troll the clubs, kind of road manage, scout the different clubs, the direct discovery approach, and follow groups, and follow, especially with social media now, you can see the YouTube rankings and the Facebook rankings, and those are great ways to find an artist if you're an artist manager. But once you have that network, you'll be able to see which acts need promotion, and from the existing clients that other folks have, you can kind of see who's out there. Getting close with management agencies will lead you to referrals. I think this is a really cool story. There are a couple of Full Sail grads that had this idea back when YouTube was popping, and people were really starting to get a lot of their entertainment and information from YouTube. And they put together kind of a South by Southwest or Lollapalooza festival. They pulled all these people, and all they really had to do was look to see who was popular on YouTube. They didn't really have to manage the people so much, but they created like a festival. It's called Playlist Live, and it happens here in Orlando, and it was started by some Full Sail grads. And so all of these YouTube celebrities show up, and it's quite popular. Like Jenna Marbles came, and I think she's quite popular. And all the people, they had to just look to see who had the most views and invite them. And so things like that. That's how you get into artist management. We do have a podcast with them on iTunes Live, so check that out. AKT Enterprises. So when you're an artist manager, when you're considering a new artist, it's really important ahead of time, and I mean ahead of time, okay? Not after you've signed anything, but that you evaluate the relationship. And in your book on page 27, 28, you'll see a list of questions, okay? A summary of questions, and these are just keywords for you to consider. Checklist to go through with your artist. And there are things that you might not consider otherwise. Things like, do they have any existing contracts? Because that will impact your income as an artist manager. What kind of assets do they have? Are they in a ton of debt? These are things that are uncomfortable to talk about, but they will be a lot more uncomfortable when they come up 6 months later and it's staring you in the face and affecting your income and their income. And financial records are a mess, okay? And what's their existing image and reputation, any kind of skeletons that you might know about. Is their name trademarked? Is their brand trademarked? How are they operating their business? Is it an LLC? Have they done that work? All these questions that are important to have out on the table before signing anything. And I have union on here, which I would have thought really only applied in like the Northeast, where union is maybe bigger, and maybe in California, but we're here in Central Florida. And just to share with you, I had a musical that I was doing not long ago, and I wanted to videotape it. And there was an actress who was a member of the equity union, and she could not be videotaped without special permission from the union, and we were not able to get permission for that. So all we could do was audio tape it, which was problematic for me in the promotion side. So I had not thought to ask anybody about that ahead of time, because I thought, well, we're in Orlando, nobody's part of a union, but that was not the case. So these are all things to think about, okay? So basic elements of your contract with the artist and the manager. Power of attorney. This is for business matters only. It allows you to act on behalf of the artist. So obviously, if the artist is getting a divorce, or their neighbors that are upset over a tree or something like that, you don't have authority to act on behalf of the artist in that manner. But for business matters, you should be appointed as having power of attorney, appointment of authority. So the compensation would also detail when the different parties will be paid. So you have to consider, when the artist gets the cash flow, and sometimes, most of the time that's not on a regular basis. This is not like, every other Friday kind of a job, or the 1st and the 15th. So that can be tricky as well. So think about that. And this should also include reimbursement of expenses. As an artist manager, you are best to consider getting your percentage off of gross and not net. So before taxes and expenses come off, that's what you want your money to come out of, okay? Because after taxes and expenses come off, they might not have anything left. Exclusivity. You are not bound to exclusivity. So what that means is, as an artist manager, you can have as many clients as you can manage. The artist himself or herself can only have one manager, all right? So the artist is bound to exclusivity, you are not. Terms, options, extensions, and blackout periods. Terms, option, extension, that's just like your apartment lease. How long is it? How long can I extend it, right? The contract. Blackout period is basically the idea of, what if you have brought an artist to a certain level, and they're doing really well, and they decide to go with a new manager. And that new manager is reaping the benefits of everything, of all the work that you've done. It's not fair. So for blackout period, what that means is that, like, for the first, you should, the new contract might say that as that artist moves on, for the first year, you might get 20% of your former fee. The second year, you might get 15%. The third year, you might get 10%. So they also call that a sunset clause, okay? How are disputes going to be resolved? Typically, that's in arbitration or mediation. So before, any kind of court would get involved, typically. And a warranty and indemnification, that protects you if two managers believe that they're responsible for artist success, for example, so that a new manager could recoup losses, or if there's any kind of breach between the artist manager and the artist. And let's see, other legal clauses. General legal clause is that, let's say, the contract would be binding in that particular jurisdiction where it was written, in that particular area of the country, okay? So those are some basic elements. And I thought I would share this with you. I really would like for you to look in the appendix of your book. There's some great examples of actual contracts and agreements. But this marketing plan, I took some examples from it. This is the actual marketing plan of a band called Take Six. Maybe you've heard of them. And I only took 3 examples, or 3 screenshots rather. I could have taken, if I put the whole thing in here, it would have probably been 15 slides of this marketing and publicity report for, I think it's like a 2-week period from what I can tell. So I think that it's important that you see the level of detail and what's involved on just the marketing and publicity side as an artist manager. So, like I said, this is a small portion of it, and I really would like for you to look at the appendix. It's Appendix A in your text, okay? So take a look at it, and this is the radio, okay? Just the radio that they did. That's continued radio. And there's print, television. It goes on for internet. It goes on for satellite radio. It goes on for podcasts. And so the artist manager that put this together was responsible for just this piece, right? Or the promotions person, or whoever was responsible for that. But you can see the level of work and detail. So that's the kind of thing that you have to be prepared to be involved with. Each one of these line items involves working and coordinating with all the contact people and getting the artists on time and figuring out the schedule. Okay, this is simply a summary. So I thought that this was very reflective of the level of work and detail involved in being an artist manager to get a band from a developing act to a well-known name. Okay, so you can Google them or put them in on YouTube and get an idea of who they are. They've done a lot of good work. Okay, so this is kind of a joke article, but I thought it was pretty funny. The author having, an artist manager. The artist manager did triple the crowd, but it goes from 3 to 9. Sometimes that happens with authors. So I like that. And for your assignment this week, some things you probably are anxious to know about. Once you get going on CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival, if you don't know who they are, as soon as you put them into YouTube and you check out some of their music, you'll say, oh yeah, I know who they are. They've been on a lot of movie soundtracks, and it's kind of the soundtrack of America. So I really would like you, when you do this work, and it's all outlined in the instructions, it's very important to me, though, that you do this work and separate it out into headings. And the reason for that is both for me and for you, because I want you to make sure that you put enough detail into this paper that you allow enough text that you write for both legal and financial. Then you get into interpersonal and your management advice. So it's not like all one long flowing document, because what will happen sometimes is somebody will write like one sentence on the financial and they'll focus too much on the interpersonal. So I want you to make sure that you dedicate equal time to all of these issues that you see here on the screen, okay? And I suggest strongly, like you're going to read 1 or 2 articles on CCR, maybe even 3 articles, and you're going to say, wow, there's a lot of information here. Well, keep reading because there's more. So read as much as you possibly can about this band, because you'll learn a lot from an artist management perspective, but you want to put as much as you can into your paper because there's a lot of information out there that you want to include here. So check that out. And you also have a discussion board assignment, and I would like you to double check. Your instructions do say this, but double check and connect what you're writing about with what's in your text, okay? And I believe it's chapter 12, so make sure that you reference the something that you've read, okay, with what you decide to come up with. And last but not least, for your blog post this week, we would like you to tie it to something in the class, something to do with entertainment business, artists, product management, something along those lines. So if you want to tell us about a movie that you saw, yes, that is entertainment, but it is not the entertainment business, okay? So let's say you want to tell us about a movie that you saw. You need to find out about who the artist manager was, or if there was a certain product endorsement, or if there was a budget issue or a new technology that was used, something to do with along the lines of entertainment business, okay? It's not necessarily a personal reflection blog. You want to tie it to entertainment business, okay? And double check all of your grammar and typos and that sort of thing. So pretty much that is the extent of everything that we have for you this week that will complement your reading and your assignment. So please contact me or Kate. Usually the quickest way to reach us is via email, but if it's during office hours, definitely contact us via mobile, and our phone numbers and our office hours are posted in your announcements references section of the class. So we do look forward to hearing from you and getting to know you. And it's going to be a great month, and we'll talk with you soon. All right, good luck with the paper.